Live, Laugh, Larceny discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or could be easy listening to all you psychopaths out there.
All stories are based on actual events, but details may vary.
Listener discretion is not advised.
Live,
Laugh,
Larceny. Welcome to Live, Laugh, Larceny, Ben Affleck's new love interest. This is Trevin.
We could only wish. No, I'm just kidding. And my name is Amanda. I don't think I could deal with somebody having resting bitch face every time we're supposed to be having fun.
That's true.
Like, even you don't have a sad face every time.
Yeah, only on photographs.
Why does Ben Affleck get to pout everywhere? So, Trevin.
Yes.
What is your dreadful dilemma this week?
My dreadful dilemma this week is sort of inspired by you. Sometimes, whether it's a new product that you're not sure about or a problem that you're experiencing, you like to just throw it to the listeners and say, give me some help. Give me some recommendations, blah, blah, blah. And
Totally.
I thought, instead of just Googling something like I normally do, why don't I just throw it out there and see what comes back for me as well?
Wow. Do tell.
I believe I've talked about this in episodes before, probably just in passing, but I have a terrible fingernail chewing problem.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
It has been a weird, nervous thing that I had had my whole life. But I still will catch myself at times not really paying attention and looking down and then realizing I have been chewing on my fingernails. There are different times in my life where I had some control, but it never really sticks.
Okay.
So has anybody completely beaten this thing? What's worked for you? What should I do? I don't like doing it. I'll chew a fingernail down to the point where it hurts, you know?
And you'll keep going?
Well, I mean, it hurts after you're done, and then you have to like pick up something heavy, and then that force on your fingertips hurt.
Yes. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I know anyone. I mean, Jordan does bite his nails, but not till the point that they're really short or anything. So yes, we need help from all the listeners out there. Raise your hand if you have very short nails from chewing them. If your hand is in the air, please send Trevin some tips.
Wow, it was so inspiring. Raise your hand, and if it's in the air, use it to use a phone.
With your short-ass nails. That really is dreadful, though, and you've been having a lot of nail problems just in general, so I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I also have a dreadful dilemma.
Oh, no.
It actually has to do with something that I just told you about that I did that was really fun. And that is going to the Kansas City Renaissance Festival.
Oh, yes, indeed. We did talk a little bit about that.
I went to the Renaissance Festival. Jordan's sister, so my sister-in-law and her family and my nephews all came to visit from Colorado, and we went to the Renaissance Festival with them. I hadn't been in years. You were saying you haven't been since high school.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't been there since way before I had kids, too. So it had been many years for me as well. And I had a really great time, guys. Very nostalgic. The best time ever getting to see it through my kids' eyes, you know? Mm. One of those moments. They just had a blast. They wore their princess outfits. It was so cute. The dreadful part about this whole trip, however, is that I started my period. Yes, this is another period dreadful dilemma.
Whoa, the whiplash.
And trying to find a tampon in a new world where everything is so old-fashioned.
Oh, was it like a mutton bone rolled in old cotton?
No, seriously, you know how the Renaissance Festival staff, I know you haven't been in a while, but to refresh your memory, they kind of roast you. I feel like they tell the staff, engage with people, yell at them, shout at them.
Because people are rude back then.
Yeah, they're like, say whatever you fucking want. Just say it in old English speech, and it's acceptable. So I was afraid if I went up to any of the staff workers that they were going to be like, Oi, lass, go and get the wool from the sheep in the barn. They were going to be like, a tampon? What is that contraption? You know, like no one's going to take me seriously. I was panicking a little bit, but eventually I went to the privies, which is what they call the restrooms there. I was standing outside. I saw a mom with a lot of bags and a stroller, and I was like, she looks really prepared.
Oh, a modern mom.
Yeah, she wasn't a performer. She wasn't a mom that dressed up, but she looked very prepared. And so I just went up to her and I asked her for a tampon, and I got one, and it was fine.
Aw.
So shout out, if you were listening right now, prepared mom at the Ren Fest.
Thank you, modern prepared mom.
Thank you. It was a really fun time. It's just really hard to find modern day things when you're going back in time.
I could totally see that. Now, as a nostalgic question for you, it had been a long time since you had gone. Going back, did it feel exactly the same, or did it seem like it has evolved since then? Like, for an example, I went to Comic-Con not too long ago after taking about a 5-year break, and nothing against it at all. But it was almost like the day that I went and saw it 5 years ago. It like hadn't changed at all.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And in a nostalgic way, you're happy for it. But in a like wanting to see something new kind of way, you're like, oh, okay.
You know, I think it was a really good blend of both.
Okay.
I feel like all the old buildings and all of it just stays there forever, right? I think. I don't think they rebuild that shit every year. I'll look into it. But all the buildings and everything, they're all the same. A lot of the similar foods and funny little speech that people are saying. But they did have a few new things. Like they had a zip line.
Oh.
Which I don't recall ever seeing a zip line at that thing. But then there was just a lot of nostalgic things, too, that I even remember being there. So it was a blend.
I think it would be fun for me to see with adult eyes and to people watch with my current eyes.
Trevin, the people watching, 10 out of 10.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yes. So today we are going to be playing a game of 2 truths and a lie.
I've got 3 wires. Which one do I cut?
I'll give you 2 truths and a lie.
But wait, we don't have time for this. We are. And this week, I'm going first.
I was wondering.
Well, I figured since last week I took the week off, you went first last week, we'll just take that as a freebie, and I'll just come back and lead this one. Sorry for surprising you all with that. I guess we hadn't really talked about it on air or anything. I'm working on a Halloween project right now that I think will really help the show's growth a bunch. That's why we're a tad behind on Patreon stuff. We're still going to get one for August, and don't worry, September we'll get 2 as well. But leading up to Halloween, I'm going to maybe have a couple guests come in and fill my spot for stories. And we'll also have them guest host so we can just have a little bit of fun together.
Yes.
But I will still have my episodes as well. And that is what today is.
Yeah. You know how we do it big every year for Halloween? Just know this year is probably the biggest we've ever gone. So get excited.
Yeah, I want to rock the podcast world big, not just rock my feed big.
Right.
So for my 2 truths and a lie this week, I thought I would expand on an issue I've been having and tell you 2 truths and a lie about fingernails.
Oh my God.
So here we go. Statement number 1. The Australian funnel web spider's fangs can penetrate fingernails, toenails, and shoes. Statement number 2. Some ancient South American civilizations use human fingernails for their version of the rainstick. Or statement number 3. Astronauts often lose their fingernails after spacewalk.
My first instinct was to go with B, but then I was like, nah, nails would make the perfect rainstick sound. So I'm going to go with C is the lie.
And you are incorrect.
Oh my God, they really do?
You should have stuck with your original thought, and the rainstick thing was made up by me.
Oh, it was just so good.
Thank you. I just thought it seemed angelic if they were all painted and...
I mean, I kind of want to go home and arts and crafts it right now with all my nail clippings, but...
Ooh. Yes, astronauts often lose their fingernails after spacewalk. In a recent study of astronaut injuries, at least 22 reported lost fingernails, a phenomenon called fingernail delamination. It happens because of pressure on the fingertips. That's from Popular Science. They also believe that the way their gloves are made, they have to be like space proof or whatever, and it causes a lot of friction and it cuts off circulation to your fingertips. And they think that might also play a part in why your fingernails just kind of don't want to stay on anymore.
Oh my God. So is that going to happen to the 2 people that are stuck in space right now?
Possibly.
Oh my God.
I'm not entirely sure. When it says spacewalk, I don't know if that means you actually have to get out and go into space.
Oh, okay. That's probably what it means.
That's probably what it means. So if you just stay on the ship, maybe you're fine.
Maybe you get to keep your nails. You don't get to see your family, but you get to keep your nails.
Yeah. And if you're a person that really values those nails, might be worth it. The Australian funnel web spider's fangs can penetrate fingernails, toenails, and shoes. Although no fatalities since modern antivenoms were invented, they are still potentially deadly. Their fangs go straight down instead of like towards each other. And I guess they're also just very strong, which makes them particularly good at penetrating.
Jeez, I don't like the sound of that. Like a big, heavy claw that just goes right into your toe.
Yeah, imagine a spider whose buck teeth were just a stapler. Sounds like something from Toy Story.
That's awful.
And yeah, the rainstick thing was made up by me, not based on anything. I just had a little fun with that one.
Oh my God. Guys, is Trevin a genius or what? I mean,
shoot.
So I also have 2 truths and a lie for you. And I was kind of inspired by the Renaissance Festival for this 2 truth and a lie. And I did want to say, side note, I could have actually had another dreadful dilemma, okay? And that was that there was a dungeon museum at the Renaissance Festival. You had to pay $3 extra to go in to see it. And we did it. And it was a mistake for me to bring the kids in there.
Oh, scary.
Oh, my. It had dummies acting out old forms of torture from back in the day. And it was pretty brutal. I had to like cover the girls' eyes and run them out at the end.
I'll make sure that if I go to that.
Go to the Dungeon Museum. So I am going to do 2 truths and 1 lie about old torture devices.
Ooh.
I got this information from a great article. It was called 7 Famous Torture Devices, Real and Mythical. It was written by Becky Little on history.com if you want to check all those other ones out. So I'm going to give you 3 torture devices with like a very brief description. And then at the end, I'll explain more. But you have to tell me which one of them is not a real one from the past, okay?
Fun, okay.
Okay, so device number 1, the rack. Stretched the body and dislocated the victim's joints. So I'm going to say their name and then what they supposedly did. Okay. Device 2, the thumb screw. Crushes a person's finger or thumbs. Or device number 3, the brazen bull. Lighting a fire underneath a life-size bronze bull statue with a victim inside.
Oh, number B2 is the unreal one, the false. Wow, I did not make that smooth at all. I confidently knew it, but did not say it well. 2 is the lie.
And you are incorrect.
Wait, what?
The brazen bull is not correct. Okay.
Oh, what am I thinking? Okay.
I don't know, but let me tell you, because number 3, I'll skip to that one. The brazen bull is an ancient mythical torture device, supposedly used by Phalaris, a tyrant who ruled a part of Sicily in the 6th century BCE. Basically, it's a story that was most likely a myth, or at least highly, highly embellished. But a lot of people have heard of it, but it is a mythological story. And the person who wrote about it was alive and wrote about it 500 years after supposedly it occurred. So,
you know, I should have paid more attention to the rules. I thought you had said 1 was completely made up by you.
Oh, I see. No,
I was
no,
like,
no,
maybe
no,
the
no.
Thumbscrew one didn't have an official name. I was like, Thumbscrew's not a great name, so she probably made that up.
No. So the other two are definitely real torture devices. So number one, the rack. This is that wooden wheel situation where they kind of put somebody on it. It was a device used in the Tower of London, a royal palace that also served as a prison. Starting in the 15th century, they used the rack to pull on ropes tied to a victim's wrist and ankles. This stretched the body and dislocated the victim's joints. And then for the thumbscrew, torturers used the thumbscrew, another pain-inflicting device from Europe's early modern period, to crush a person's fingers or thumbs. Similarly to the rack, torturers employed the thumbscrew as a means of punishment and an attempt to elicit a confession. The thumbscrew was also known as a thumbkin. What? I was even surprised to read that part.
Here comes Thumbkin.
Yeah, I mean, these names are both horrible, guys. Like, here comes the thumbkin. Like, you're going to bring in a thumbkin and take my thumbs off? Anyway, I'm just going to end it at that. But those two are very much true.
Damn. I wish I would have listened to this a little closer. In one of the Saw movies, they have something based off the Brazen Bull. I do believe they have a thumbscrew one, but I can't quite remember which one it's from.
Did he come wheeling and he's like, Thumbkin wants to play?
No, but if he did come out with a little friend named Thumbkin on like a little sidecar.
I'm dead. Well, you know what products are much better than thumbkins?
Nothing's better than Thumbkins.
You're right, but here's some ads anyway.
And welcome back.
Hi.
This week in my story, I thought I'd kick it a little old school for you guys.
Oh, cool.
Back in the day, we used to tell so many stories about people on drugs just doing things, or things with drugs, you know? We've kind of just worked away from the drug stories for a while, I feel like. Or if we do, it's something that it's like, oh yeah, by the way, they're also high on something. But
yeah,
kind of like when we do an Australian accent. We'll do stories from Australia, but we're only going to do the accent if it's necessary for the story.
Because no one needs to hear it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have a story for you where drugs are front and center.
Oh, wow.
So trigger warning for people who don't like drug stories or green flag for people who do. So without any more time wasting, here we go. There's a hole in absence, one that feels bigger than just a vacant place where no one ever was. An imprint, a memory that harkens back to a more familiar time. We've all experienced it. A friend who conveniently forgets plans they never intended to keep. A coworker calling in sick on a day when you have nothing to do. Or even something as sad as the first holiday without a cherished relative. There are countless moments when absence leaves its mark on our lives. It's the empty recliner during a family gathering, the bad haircut when your stylist is on vacation, or the $20 hotel rental of the adult film Snowed White by 7 Dilfs on your first business trip without your partner. Suddenly, everything works differently, as if the rules of the world changed overnight. Absence thrusts you into uncomfortable situations, like trimming your own bangs, or using the cheap eucalyptus-scented lotion that came with your room. Yuck. But sometimes, the absence is too big to fill. It's not just about missing someone. It's about the lengths we'll go to feel whole again. When someone we care about isn't there, it's not just a matter of renting obscure porn parodies on your company credit card. It's about doing whatever it takes to close that gap, even if it means committing a petty crime. Because while they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, sometimes it just makes the heart grow pettier. Being the responsible friend is a full-time job. Cleaning up messes, handling logistics, and playing babysitter when your friends are too drunk to function.
Shut the fuck up or nobody gets Taco Bell.
Every group has someone like this to some extent, and the level of helplessness among the others determines just how crucial that motherly role becomes. For our main character, Shannon, she played this pivotal part for her friend group, the drug den of Trenton Avenue. On any given day, Shannon could be found recalibrating digital scales, fetching snacks for her 5 roommates, and ensuring they were always stocked up on off-brand sandwich baggies. Although their living quarters had gradually transitioned from a typical residence to a hybrid business front, she prided herself on maintaining a cozy atmosphere. To Shannon, this wasn't just a drug house. It was a drug home. But although Shannon's life might sound like the setting for an HBO dramedy, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Shannon and her merry band of drug peddlers were missing someone, each of them experiencing the loss differently, but they all shared the same heavy absence: Amanda D. Months before, the drug den on Trenton Avenue was a flourishing haven for illegal goods and even better conversation. Pistol Pete would be in the corner, perpetually cleaning guns. Marty would be at the door checking IDs. And their 7th roommate at the time, Amanda D., was the entertainment. Whether she was tap dancing, performing magic tricks, or singing cover songs, her talents were always on display.
Sweet Caroline.
She made every day at the work/home feel more like a day at the theater. Even Shannon carried a different energy. Her motherly duties were completed with a tone that brightly expressed through her body language. She happily fluffed Grandpa Joe's pillows, filled the butane lighters while whistling, and could always be found chatting it up with Amanda. There was a certain regenerative power in talking to her best friend, and Shannon's energy was only possible because Amanda was there. But the 7-person home's light went out the day Amanda was taken away. It was a routine delivery. A pack of nose wiggles for Mr. Chesterton, and some crack for Dan. She kissed Grandpa Joe on the forehead and left with her backpack. No one knew it would be the last time they'd see her. After hours passed with no sign of Amanda, it was Shannon who received the call.
Hello.
Amanda had been arrested for possession with intent to sell. With Amanda behind bars, Trenton Avenue continued to be one of Michigan's best-kept secrets in the drug world.
2 drugs, please.
Unfortunately, the way it was run had changed dramatically. Each roommate carried a piece of regret stuck on what they could have done differently. While Shannon wasn't immune to this, Amanda's absence always made everyone else's ungratefulness painfully obvious. Although still the motherly presence she had always been, she felt less like mother and more like mom. Each morning, she forced herself out of bed, artificially fueled by coffee. Despite handling hard drugs all day, she unwound each night with a glass of wine and crime shows. She longed to gossip about Marty or complain about Grandpa Joe's smell, but with no one to confide in, it was just her and her duties to the home. Every day felt the same since their 7-person household was reduced to 6. They measured, bagged, and distributed drugs in isolation, trapped in their own thoughts.
Is anyone gonna talk about it?
Shannon finally broke the silence, disrupting her 5 roommates from their trance of labor.
We used to be a family. We used to enjoy each other's company. Now we just put our heads down, get our shit done, and pretend each other doesn't exist. Feels like I'm back at corporate America. What happens when Amanda gets out? Are we all going to act like we just got back here? Because I don't know what's going on in any of your lives right now. Pistol Pete, what do you have going on over there?
I'm cleaning a big gun with a little wire brush, Pistol Pete cheerfully responded.
Now we're talking,
Shannon said, raising the mood.
How about you, Grandpa Joe? What's going on in your life?
The old man looked over from his bed, situated directly to the right of the couch. I just know there's more I could have done, he said, his voice heavy with regret.
Joe, of course there's more you could have done,
Shannon retorted, her tone laced with spice.
You've been voluntarily bedridden for 10 years. We call you Grandpa Joe because you're lazier than that old man from Willy Wonka. I only clean your bed sores because I'm a neat freak.
In a huff, Grandpa Joe immediately rolled over, facing away from Shannon.
What if we all work together on a project to show Amanda D that we're thinking of her?
Shannon suggested gently to the remaining 4 roommates who were paying attention.
Swiss Army Shank?
Drugs? Have an independent podcast shoehorn their name into a story?
Bad ideas flew at Shannon faster than she could process them, calming the crowd with a raised hand. She shared her own idea.
I was actually thinking something more along the lines of a handmade construction paper card. But Herb, I'm curious about your idea of drugs.
The tall man pushed himself away from his desk of meticulously measured and labeled baggies and stood to address the room. If there's one thing Amanda loved more than Neil Diamond, it was hard drugs. Sure, a handmade card sounds sweet, but she can't smoke it or sell it for cigarettes. We all know how things work in jail. We all have the same attorney. let's forge Petty Laudersmith Esquire III's documents and sneak some Suboxene strips in there. They're thin like paper, and client-attorney confidentiality makes the envelope immune to search. And the best part? We can still do some arts and crafts as we recreate the documents and forge the signature. Herb's master plan sparked excitement among the group, even inspiring Grandpa Joe to roll back over and join the conversation. The 6 roommates agreed to set their collective sadness aside and make a gesture to their friend who clearly had it worse than they did. Marty went out to get the stamps. Crystal Beth edited the documents on a pirated version of the Adobe Suite, and Shannon carefully traced Patty Laudersmith Esquire III's signature from one of their previous legal run-ins. It was beautiful. A large manila envelope packed with legal nonsense and drugs, all to put a smile on Amanda's face. Shannon felt proud of her Trenton Avenue family, happy to see that they could come together and channel their negative energy for good. Walking out to the mailbox, Shannon lifted the red flag and took one last look at the package her drug family had lovingly compiled.
You should have seen them,
she whispered to the envelope, as if speaking to Amanda herself.
Pete put down his guns to lick the envelope, and Marty got the stamps without screwing anything up. I wish you were here with us now, but maybe this will make your situation a little more tolerable.
Placing the envelope inside and closing the steel door, Shannon made the slow walk back inside, feeling ready to build on the success of the letter and continue healing their broken family. The next morning, Shannon was startled awake by a forceful knock on the drug house door. She rolled over to check the time. 8 a.m.
We don't open for another 2 hours,
she muttered to herself. But then, the knock came again. The same coded pattern as before. Shannon sighed, got up from bed, and slipped on her after-hours house muumuu. In a huff, she walked across the living room, carefully stepping around Grandpa Joe's bed.
This ought to be fucking good,
she griped, swinging the front door open without bothering to check the peephole first. As Shannon faced her front porch, emotions began to boil to the surface, clearly evident in her expression. Tears from every kind of sensation poured down as her face contorted, embodying every possible emotion.
I missed you so much, old friend,
Amanda D. exclaimed, dropping her luggage and lunging into a long-awaited hug.
Come on, I got everyone a souvenir from prison, and I can't wait to share them.
As Amanda ran in and jumped on Grandpa Joe's bed, Shannon watched the smiling faces gather around their once-missing friend. Amanda pulled out different handmade trinkets from her mesh bag, explaining the significance of each gift to its recipient.
I know how much you love dead rats.
Everyone was so caught up in the joy of Amanda's return that they didn't even think about the drugs that they had sent the day before. The drugs that now had no beneficiary. Although that loose end would remain uncovered for now, Shannon remembered that there were plenty of hard drugs still in the house. Unwilling to let the reunion go to waste, she popped open a package of nose wiggles and threw a welcome home party to commemorate their time apart. In May of 2023, 51-year-old Cedar Springs, Michigan woman, Shannon Soltys, was arrested for creating fraudulent attorney documents as part of a scheme to smuggle drugs into the Kent County Jail. Investigations began in April when an attorney notified police of a suspicious piece of mail they had received. The package in question was an envelope sent to an inmate at the Kent County Jail, labeled with the attorney's name, but was returned after the inmate was no longer in jail. Investigators with the Kent Area Narcotics Team discovered a suspect was involved in forging mail to appear it is from their attorney in order to exploit the attorney-client privilege to smuggle narcotics into jail. On May 9th, the Cedar Springs Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant on a home on Trenton Avenue, resulting in the arrest of 6 individuals on various drug and firearm charges. According to documents obtained by Fox 17, West Michigan, detectives seized methamphetamine, fentanyl, and other drug analogs from Shannon Soltys' bedroom, along with digital scales and packaging materials used for drug distribution. Shannon Soltys was arrested on drug-related charges, including smuggling contraband into a correctional facility. In later filed documents, she admitted to investigators that she had sent packages to an inmate at the Kent County Jail, allegedly containing 10 strips of Suboxene spread across 2 packages. Suboxene is a prescription medication used to treat opioid addiction, often helping recovering addicts manage withdrawal symptoms. Kent County Jail's medical staff provides Suboxene to inmates free of charge, according to Fox 17. In an interview for the same article, Kent County Sheriff LaJoy Young emphasized, I don't want anyone listening to believe that the withdrawal was so dramatic that they needed to reach out to outside sources. The treatment is here, and we provide it without cost to the inmate. The inmate to whom the packages were addressed had not faced any charges at the time of the reports. I hope you all see the importance of strengthening your support system during times of absence. If a table is already missing a leg, you don't remove another one. No, you lean on the ones you have and only place heavy items on the corner with the 3 remaining legs. We all know that analogy. Had Shannon and the rest of the Trenton Avenue crew leaned on each other, or at least remembered Amanda's release date, maybe their care package wouldn't have boomeranged back into the hands of the lawyer they impersonated. We all handle loss and absence differently, and I'm not here to say that there's a right way to do it. But I can tell you this. The wrong way to do it is by smuggling drugs into jail.
Did I hear you correctly that it wasn't even the jail that found them? It was because they sent it back to the lawyer who then found them?
Yeah, so they sent the drug package because they had to forge the letter as if it came from the attorney. Because the inmate was no longer in jail, they were like, oh, return to sender. Then it went into the hands of the person that they were impersonating, who then looked at it and was like, this isn't mine.
Wow.
Then he called the cops. Then they investigated it.
And they really smuggled in something that's freely given out already there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, probably in a controlled way, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably to use in a monetary sort of way or just to abuse.
Yeah. Damn. I mean, on one hand, if I was in jail, I would feel honored that someone would risk sending me in something that I shouldn't have. Not that necessarily, but like, but on the other hand, I'd be like, no, idiot. What if I get out and then you just come right back in?
I can't imagine what the Shannon character or what Shannon must have really felt like when she found out that she had already shipped the drugs and then her friend is like, she knows is no longer in jail. Like, I'm sure it wasn't in the same way that we did it.
Right.
But did she know that her friend was no longer in jail after she had sent it? Like, oh, this is a ticking time bomb that may or may not come back to bite me.
I would be stressed. It could have gone so many different directions.
Yeah.
They could have seen it, been like, she's done an inmate, immediately thrown it away. They could have opened it. You know, whoever opened it could have said something or not. Maybe the lawyer just let it go. You know, there's so many different things, but it came back to bite them in the ass.
If it was like an early 2000s or late 90s movie, they would team up to try to do a police station heist and get their letter back before somebody gets it to save themselves.
Yes.
And I would watch that.
I'd watch it. Also, the raid was on May 9th, which is my birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Also, shout out to Amanda D.
Oh, Amanda D, yes.
Our Patreon listener who was in your story. Shout out for not only being in the story, but for having the same name as me.
Indeed. Yeah, you have a lovely name. And yes, I did make you a drug dealer / probably drug user. But guess what? I made you the life of the party and everyone loved you. So just enjoy that part of it.
You lit up the room of that drug house so brightly. But no, in all seriousness, thank you to Amanda D. And if you want to be in a story, just gotta be a felon level on our Patreon account.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll get a shout out just like she did. So I also have a story. This crime definitely ties into my dreadful dilemma and somewhat to my 2 truths and a lie. It's not about tampons. Don't worry, guys.
Oh, good. I can only handle that twist once an episode.
I know. It has nothing to do with that. So I'll let you all guess. And here we go. The medieval era of European society was well named due to it being extremely mid and super evil. This time was also nicknamed the Dark Ages, making it sound just as depressing as it actually was. Yet the time of plague, war, and general destruction didn't last forever. Luckily for the unfortunate souls that survived the days of doom and gloom, life as they knew it was about to become revived. The Renaissance time period brought a new attitude and atmosphere with it. there was joyful laughter from the townsfolk, and people sang happily about spending their money on booze. Of course, there was still crazy torture techniques happening, but most people kept that hidden away in their own private dungeons.
Harder, Daddy.
For those that lived during this era, I'm sure it was an exciting time to be alive. It only makes sense that annual Renaissance festivals were created for people born in the modern day to enjoy. So tighten up your corsets and shine up your chainmail, because we're traveling back in time to solve a petty crime. 22-year-old Connor Ward lived a boring and unfulfilling life in Colorado Springs during the year of 2015. He worked at a stuffy office job, ate the same sandwich every single day, and his only moments of bliss came from having vanilla sex with his girlfriend.
I'm gonna keep my underpants on this time.
He deeply craved adventure and something new, but had no idea where to find it. That is, until he saw a local Facebook event pop up on his screen for the Colorado Renaissance Festival. Connor clicked around for more information and was immediately hooked. This was the perfect opportunity for him to step into a new world for a day. A thrilling and enchanting new land where no one knew just how boring he actually was. Connor purchased tickets for himself, his girlfriend, and a couple of friends. He could hardly wait for the event. The day had finally arrived as Connor and his group walked the dusty path toward the festival grounds. They heard faint sounds of wooden recorders playing soft melodies and distant crowds cheering for jousting nights. Connor's heart began to beat quicker, knowing that, at least for today, he could escape his bland existence. Stepping through the entrance of the Kingdom's doors, the friends were immediately greeted by heavily costumed inhabitants.
Thou art most welcome.
Hail and well met! Looking around, Connor saw an entire township before him. In the center were elaborately dressed dancers spinning around a wooden pole while holding ribbons. All around them were old-fashioned shops and rides powered by manual labor. And everywhere he turned, there were women with large breasts lifted up by lace girdles.
Behold, mine glorious knockers!
It was extraordinary. Immediately, the group wanted to split up. The ladies waited in line to get their hair braided by giggly fairies, while the men went to the nearest vendor for a turkey leg and beer. Connor approached the old-fashioned bar, only to be greeted by a brazen barista.
What say you? How many pints do you require, good sir?
She asked loudly, leaning toward him.
Oh, yes. Hello. I'll just have one, please.
Connor responded politely.
Nay, for you have just arrived and be parched.
The barista exclaimed.
Here's 3 pints to get your day a-going. That'll be 1872.
Connor downed the ales with the other men, immediately giving him a head rush. They reunited with their girlfriends, who now had intricately braided hairdos and flower crowns atop their heads. The group spent their afternoon watching blacksmiths forge swords, jugglers toss balls, and magicians making things disappear.
Dost thou knowest the hour? Because I do think it's time to make one of you scallywags vanish.
All the while, Connor continued to drink more and more beers. He really was enjoying immersing himself into the Renaissance era. However, he was growing tired of just observing others doing something grand. He wanted to experience something magical himself. Just as he thought of this, his group took their seats in the stands to watch the next round of night jousting. Connor drank his fresh pint as the trumpeters announced the start of the games. The king and queen of the kingdom took their seats in their royal thrones before the brave knights in armor rode out on their horses. The first round was between the Blue Knight and Orange Knight, who appeared to have a long-standing beef with one another. The Blue Knight glared at his opponent from one side of the dirt arena,
A plague upon thee!
The Blue Knight shouted boldly.
Wherefore, I fare thee well, as you won't see another sunrise.
The Orange Knight responded with confidence. The announcer stood in front of the royal couple, dressed in tights and a floppy hat. He cleared his throat before shouting out a squeaky,
Let the games begin!
The crowd began to chant in agreement. Connor finished his beer as he watched the two horses gallop from either end of the stadium. The knights clung to the reins and their jousting rods as they grew closer to making contact. Just as it appeared the two would collide, sending both of them to their respective graves, the Blue Knight accelerated and aimed. He leaned forward, knocking the Orange Knight off of his horse and into the mud. Connor couldn't believe his eyes. This was the kind of danger he needed in his life. Just then, he saw a stray sword lying in a haystack on the side of the stadium. Without another thought, Connor jumped the divider into the arena and snatched up the real-life weapon. The sword was heavier than he expected, only making him feel more emboldened. He pointed the sword toward the sky and lifted it above his head, all while laughing hysterically.
Stand back, you wenches! I've got a weapon and I'm too drunk to care!
Connor drunkenly shouted at the onlookers. His girlfriend shouted out for him to stop.
Babe, no! Young squire, put down that sword at once.
One of the knights demanded sternly, remaining in character. But Connor did not put the sword down. Instead, he jabbed the pointed metal into the air playfully and started to run off with it. Before any of the knights in shining armor could react, a particularly offended wench sprinted at Connor and grabbed into his t-shirt. The cheap thread ripped apart within her tight grip, but she wasn't about to let him go. The wench then kicked the back of Connor's legs and tackled him to the ground, regardless of her maidenly dress. She wrapped her arms around Connor's sweaty neck and held him in a firm headlock.
Let me go!
A buff knight approached, hovering over them on the ground.
I'll take it from here, my lady. Send for the constable. I think this man deserves the gallows for his crimes.
On Saturday, July 11th, 2015, 22-year-old Connor Ward attended the Colorado Renaissance Festival in Larkspur, Colorado. According to witnesses, Connor allegedly jumped into the ring during a jousting show at the Ren Fest and stole a performer's sword from a haystack. He appeared to be laughing and intoxicated at the same time. After seeing her husband's sword being stolen, Brittany Beard, dressed as a wench, sprinted after Connor. She was quoted on the event saying,
I thought, if I don't chase this guy with my husband's $400 sword, then he's going to get away with it. I grabbed his shirt, and it ripped in two. I kicked him in the back of the legs. I caught him off guard, so I jumped on his back and kind of put him in a headlock.
Brittany's husband, Bryan Beard, was playing the role of the good knight during the joust. He was quoted stating,
In 25 years of jousting, and we all like to tell stories around the campfire, I've never even heard of anything like this happening. Chivalry, honor, duty, those things are not gender specific.
Capturing the crime in real time was photographer Steve Chapman. Originally there to photograph the festival for his travel website, he ultimately captured Connor stealing the sword, being tackled, and then getting detained by security. Douglas County Sheriff's Office spokesperson also said that when police arrived at the scene, Connor attempted to assault an arresting officer, but was ultimately unsuccessful. Connor faced charges of theft, resisting arrest, and assaulting a police officer. He was held on a $50,000 bond with no punishment listed in online articles. It's always a wild journey, traveling back in time, especially when visiting the Renaissance era. I encourage everyone to immerse themselves in a world different than the one you know. Dress up, act the part, and enjoy yourself thoroughly. But I do have a word of caution to all those engaging in ye olde festivities. One petty act can lead you straight to a dungeon of doom.
I don't want to be in a dungeon of doom.
Same. Now, I do want to clarify because I did put a lot of actual quotes in that recapping part. And you did ask me, was that a direct quote from Connor himself? And unfortunately, it wasn't, guys. I made up all the dialogue throughout the entire thing. The only real quotes were the ones, of course, at the wrap up at the end. But I had a hell of a time writing it.
So you said a photographer captured it. Are there photos of him like holding the sword up high?
I don't know if there's photos of him holding it up high, but there are photos of him with the sword. There's photos of the woman putting him in the headlock. And then there are pictures of him being arrested. They all went to the Daily Mail. They probably like bought those images from him. He was just there to document the day and put it on his travel website to be like, what a fun festival. And now he has his photos on the Daily Mail.
Isn't that fun?
Oh my God.
You can only be so lucky. You know?
I know. I know.
So he was just drunk.
Yes, there weren't any drunken and disorderly charges or anything like that. And like a breathalyzer wasn't talked about in any articles, but witnesses and the photographer both stated that they thought that he was very intoxicated and that he was laughing a lot. And like he thought he was so funny. I loved that the wench, that's how they described her in a lot of the articles.
Oh, that's fun.
The wench was the wife of the knight. And I love how she was the one who tackled this guy and saved the day. How often does that happen in the medieval castle times, you know?
Yeah, she's really just sticking it to the man.
Yeah, truly. Oh, and while we're here, I wanted to give a shout out to an article about this petty crime, and it's on westward.com. And the article was written by Jeff Ott. And Jeff over here, it's only with one F. I think that's how you say it. Jeff?
Oh.
A gentle F
I think
sound?
you just have to cut it off. Jeff.
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 Or inhale after you hit the F.
Jeff. I like it. So, Jeff, he wrote a really good article about this, and he wrote it in old English timey.
Oh, I love it.
There were a lot of words that I didn't use. It's like totally different than mine. But it starts with like, forsooth, the festivities of ye old Colorado Renaissance Festival were greatly upset this Saturday. All of it's written in Old English. It's so funny. So creative. I haven't seen an article do that, like an actual online article of one of the news stories that they are even having fun writing in Old English. I just thought it was cool.
That's a news writer with pizzazz and production value.
Yes.
And I am all into that.
I loved every second of it.
Also, talking about the wench and the knight, how lovely a Renaissance family. I always think that's really cute to see those families that love to do that together a lot.
Yes, I am telling you, I recommend it to everybody. I had a hell of a time. You know, I used to have fun going before kids, and now that this was my first time taking my kids to it, I mean, it really is an event for all ages. They just might see some drunk guy get arrested during the jousting match. No big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Or a lot of cleavage. That's all I remember as a kid.
A lot of cleavage. I had to put that in there because, I mean, even I was wearing that orangish kind of peasant dress that I wear everywhere. And then
Do you call it your peasant dress outside of the Renaissance Festival?
Yes, I do. And my girls were dressed as princesses. And I told them I was just their peasant girl that was like with them because I had no bling on my dress whatsoever.
Well, they're the princesses.
Yes. And we all wore a crown. It was very fun. But I encourage it for families. It's a good thing. It's a fun thing. I loved every minute of it. But yeah, people be crazy. And there is alcohol served, so you just never know.
I think Emily would really enjoy it. She grew up watching a lot of Lord of the Rings, so
Oh my God.
I think something like that would probably be at least fun for a day.
Yes. You get to dip your toe in and then leave. And I swear to you, I think the actors and the staff, they really get into it and they really try and like engage with you. And just the funny speech that I heard was cracking me up. And the people watching, like I said, no better place for it.
You know, I've really been thinking a lot about how that episode a while back, we said we were the podcast for theater kids.
Yes.
It's been on my mind a lot recently.
Yeah.
And then this episode and all this acting you just made me do.
Well, didn't we just have somebody say something about voice acting? I don't know, something. We get really into our characters, and this episode was no exception. Do we have a tie-in other than really out there characters and funny sex jokes at the beginning?
I have a great tie-in.
What?
And I already thought you were onto it, but I guess you weren't.
What?
Magic tricks. Because Amanda D, when she was the entertainment during the drug house, I said she did magic tricks.
Oh my God. I completely forgot about that one. That is such a fun little random ass tie-in.
We must have had magic on our... Well, I mean, you make sense because you went and saw a magician.
Yes. I don't know where your wonder came from within, I guess.
I guess when I was writing my story, I was kind of thinking about TV shows or movies where people look back fondly on back when they had like a thriving theater business or something, and it shows like a lady who's on a stage and she's like, and then everybody's just like, I remember when it was thriving, you know?
Those were the good old days.
In my imagination, Amanda D was in like a dusty old drugged in tap dancing and doing magic for like 7 people, and it was like that in my head. So
oh my God.
She also did magic on her little stage.
Wow. Old-timey magic vibes and dusty floors. What a time to be alive, question mark?
But you can't deny that connection.
No, that is an undeniable connection. I cannot take that away from you, and I'll accept it. Well, I hope everyone out there is having the best week. And just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're all doomed.
Doomed to set forth to the great beyond.
I didn't see that coming. Farewell to thee.
See ya.
Bye. For all you tortured souls out there, come join our Patreon for more bonus content, movie nights, bloopers, ad-free episodes. Come on over and join the fun.
And don't chew on your fingernails. Use those fingers to type our URL and follow us on social media. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads. Live, Laugh, Larceny.
And have you ever been arrested at a Renaissance festival? If so, do tell. Send us your petty crime story to livelaughlarceny@gmail.com.
What is it, torture to leave a review, you guys? Why don't you get out there and give us 5 stars wherever you rate podcasts? Apple, Spotify, or Good Pods.
The Renaissance time period brought a new attitude and atmosphere. Atmosphere. Bones with the fur. Atmosphere.